I decided to do the next video on the creative process. I was never really having problems with the creative process. It was only the fear of keeping that creativity up so other people could see it or criticize it. First thing I do when I try to think of something to be creative is I will stroke my beard and look pensive, uh, maybe give a smolder. I don't know how to. Let's pick woodworking. That's one of my favorite things to work on. I like to envision something useful or cool um, that has multiple uses, and that's kind of tricky because usually you've got your pieces that are just going to be that's what they do. The things I like to build and think about are things that you're like, oh, that's a table, and you're like, yeah, but nope, it's also this, and they're like, oh. So step one to the creative process, I would say, is going to be you have to have a problem, really. Um, Creativity is basically humans' answer to solving problems. It's nice when there's a problem that is really, really common because then you can use a common solution and it doesn't really require the creativity. But then you have like solution or problems rather that are really difficult to find an answer to, and that's when you really get the creativity. Creativity to me is just abstract problem solving. It means finding a possible answer that people may not have thought about. I saw a meme recently. It was like, hey, I want to stab that guy, but he's way over there. Thus, the invention of the bow and arrow.
I'm realizing that making a video about being creative on the spot is very difficult. Creativity is not something that just happens when you force it to. I see a problem and then I take what I know and maybe a little of something I'm not familiar with and try to smash them together into something that could work. I am not a skilled carpenter by any means. I kind of just wing it as I go. Along the way, sometimes you can see it and then abstractly adds an element that is creative. It's like just little pieces of personality flair to something.
Bro, you're going to need 37 pieces of flair.
Well, like Brian, for example, has 37 pieces of flair.
Take something that's already been made that was originally creative in itself and then add your own little piece to it. Add your own little personality. Add a little bit of what you feel is important to you into whatever you're doing, and it'll automatically be yours. Now, I'm not saying you should do something stupid like put on glasses and act like a different person. A lot of my creativity is used in humor, because humor is one of those things that, no, I know I'm not funny, but it's humorous to me. I don't care if you like it. Humor is basically all creativity. It's taking two abstract things and making a funny correlation between the two, and then that's what is funny when we recognize that, hey, that's like, those two things fit together. I remember that from earlier. All he's doing is building upon what he's already made. That's all that creativity is just building upon what's already there and making it yours.
You mean kind of like how you took other people's homework and made it your own? Yeah, thanks for all the help there with the homework.
Making something that's your own is inherently vulnerable. It makes you open on a level that you don't normally show. Creativity allows you to put who you are into something visible to the world. And when someone else sees that, it's extremely personal to you because they now know a part of you that isn't on display all the time.
You're not going to make a dick joke?
no, I would never make a dick joke. I find myself, even as I sit here, just thinking about what creativity is to me, my perception just kind of evolves along with it. I'm actively putting thought into being creative, which I don't think people normally do. You know, it's weird to think about what I think when I'm trying to be creative.
You may be an open book, SpongeBob, but I'm a bit more complicated than that. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Creativity is kind of like loading a shotgun with ideas, aiming it in a direction that you kind of want to solve a problem in, and then firing a hole in the backdrop of something, and then tracing the pattern between the dots in your mind quickly to create something that's almost like a Rorschach image, and then you kind of perceive meaning through that. I know that sounds super weird, but that's kind of how I do it, because you got to throw your mind somewhere in order for it to respond back. But if you force it and try to say, all right, I got to be creative, I got to do this correctly, it's like that episode of SpongeBob when he's sitting on for, you know, however long it was, and he just was trying too hard to be creative.
You're really going to be spitting wisdom about SpongeBob.
Oh!